Captain Hyunwoo stood on the bridge of the New Horizon, watching the stars through the large viewing window. The ship moved slowly through space, its mission peaceful and simple. They were explorers, not warriors. For over 200 years, humans had chosen the path of peace, science, and friendship with other species across the galaxy. The bridge was quiet except for the soft hum of computers. Hyunwoo smiled as he watched his crew work. These people represented the best of humanity. They were smart, kind, and always ready to help others. The thought of war seemed impossible to them. War was something from old history books, not their reality. "Captain," called out So Young from her science station. She was one of the best terraforming experts in human space. Her work had helped create new homes for millions of people on dead planets. "I'm getting some interesting readings from the planet below. The soil composition looks perfect for our new farming techniques." Hyunwoo walked over to look at her screen. The planet looked beautiful from space, with blue oceans and green continents. How long would it take to make it ready for colonists? "Maybe 6 months," So Young replied, her eyes bright with excitement. "We could turn this into a paradise. Food for millions of people, clean air, fresh water, no weapons needed, no fighting. Just peaceful growth." This was what humans did best. They found empty worlds and made them beautiful. They shared their technology freely with alien species. They solved problems with science and talking, not violence. The galaxy was becoming a better place because of human kindness. Taemin, the ship's diplomatic officer, approached them. He had just finished a long conversation with representatives from the Velkari Empire. "The Velkari want to buy more of our medical technology," he reported. "They're offering a very good trade deal. Food, minerals, and safe passage through their territory." "Excellent work," Hyunwoo said. "This was normal for them. Humans were known throughout the galaxy as honest traders and skilled diplomats. They could talk to anyone and find peaceful solutions to almost any problem. Even species that hated each other would listen to human mediators." The Galactic Council had been impressed by humanity when they first made contact 50 years ago. Humans were clever engineers who could fix almost anything. They were also natural. Peacemakers who could end wars between alien species that had been fighting for centuries. The Council gave humans many important jobs because they were so trustworthy and competent. But Hyunwoo sometimes wondered if other species truly respected humans, or if they just found them useful. The Velkari Empire was ancient and powerful. They had ruled parts of the galaxy for thousands of years. The Draknari Federation was known for their strong military and proud warrior culture. Both of these great powers treated humans well, but there was always something in their voices that suggested they thought humans were weak. "Captain," said the communications officer, "we're getting a message from Earth. It's from Admiral Kyung-soo at Fleet Command." Hyunwoo took the call in his private office. Admiral Kyung-soo appeared on the screen, looking tired but professional. She was one of the few humans who still studied military history, though more as a hobby than anything practical. "Hyunwoo, I hope your mission is going well," she said. "I'm calling because we've been hearing some concerning reports from the Outer Rim. Some of our research stations have lost contact recently. It's probably just equipment problems, but I wanted all our captains to be careful." "What kind of problems?" Hyunwoo asked. In his experience, human technology was very reliable. It was unusual for multiple stations to have issues at the same time. "We're not sure yet. The stations just stopped sending regular reports. When we sent ships to check on them, they found the stations empty. No signs of attack, no distress signals. The crews were just gone." Admiral Kyung-soo paused. "It's probably nothing serious. Maybe they evacuated because of some natural disaster we don't know about yet." Hyunwoo nodded, though he felt a small worry in his stomach. "We'll keep our eyes open. If we see anything unusual, we'll report it immediately." After the call ended, Hyunwoo returned to the bridge. His crew continued their peaceful work, studying the planet below and preparing their terraforming equipment. They had no weapons except some small defense systems that could stop asteroids or space debris. The idea that they might need real, Weapons never crossed their minds. So Young was now talking excitedly with Tae-min about the possibilities for the planet. "We could invite the Zephyrian Collective to help with the mining operations," she suggested. "They're very good with heavy machinery, and they need the work." The Zephyrian Collective was a newer species that humans had met only recently. They were silicon-based life forms, very different from humans, but seemed friendly enough. The Galactic Council was still deciding whether to give them full membership, but humans had been advocating for their inclusion. Humans believed everyone deserved a chance to prove themselves. "That's a great idea," Tae-min agreed. "They've been having trouble finding work since their home system doesn't have many resources. This could help them establish themselves in the galactic community." This was typical human thinking, always trying to help others, always looking for ways to make everyone's life better. Human colonies were known as safe places where any species could visit and trade fairly. Human schools taught children that violence was never the answer to problems. Human scientists spent their time inventing things that would improve life, for everyone, not weapons that could hurt people. As the New Horizon continued its peaceful journey, other human ships were doing similar work throughout the galaxy. Exploration vessels like theirs were mapping new star systems. Medical ships were bringing healing to planets suffering from diseases. Diplomatic vessels were helping solve conflicts between alien species who couldn't agree on their own. The galaxy had become more peaceful since humans joined the galactic community. Wars were less common. Trade was more fair. Scientific progress was faster because humans shared their knowledge freely. Many species had started copying human methods of solving problems through discussion rather than force. But in the dark spaces between stars, something was watching human activities with growing interest. Some aliens had begun to see human kindness, not as strength but as weakness. They looked at human colonies with their minimal defenses and saw opportunities. They listened to human diplomats talking about peace and cooperation, and they heard the words of people who had forgotten how to fight. The Draknari Federation held secret meetings where their leaders discussed the human problem. They respected human intelligence, but they believed that any species that chose peace over strength was fundamentally flawed. In their culture, only the strong deserved to survive and prosper. Similarly, some members of the Velkari Empire had begun to view humans as useful servants rather than equals. They appreciated human technology and diplomatic skills, but they thought humans were too soft to be true galactic powers. In their ancient wisdom, they believed that peaceful species eventually became victims of stronger ones. As Captain Hyunwoo looked out at the peaceful stars, he had no idea that these attitudes were growing stronger among some alien leaders. He could not imagine that anyone would want to hurt humans who had only ever tried to help others. The concept of unprovoked attack seemed impossible in their civilized galaxy. The New Horizon continued its mission, carrying its crew of peaceful explorers toward their destiny, unaware that the galaxy was about to teach humanity a lesson about the true nature of the universe. The alarm started screaming at 0600 hours on Serenity Base. Commander Ji-hoon woke up instantly, years of military training taking over, even though he had never faced a real emergency. The research station had been peaceful for its entire 5-year existence. The loudest sounds were usually the hum of computers and the laughter of scientists making new discoveries. "Commander to the bridge immediately," the voice came through his communicator. It was Petty Officer Dong-min, and he sounded terrified. Ji-hoon ran through the corridors, passing confused researchers and technicians. Dr. Yun-ji was already at her post in the xenobiology lab, trying to understand what was happening. She had been working late again, studying peaceful cooperation between different species. Her research was supposed to help the galaxy become a better place. "What's the situation?" Ji-hoon demanded as he reached the control center. "Ships, Commander," Dong-min replied, pointing at the sensor display. 12 unknown vessels approaching fast. They're not responding to our communication attempts." Ji-hoon looked at the screen. The ships were unlike anything in their database. They had sharp, aggressive designs that looked built for fighting, not exploring or trading. These were not the friendly vessels they were used to seeing. "Send the standard greeting protocol," Ji-hoon ordered. "Tell them this is a peaceful research station and ask if they need assistance." The response came as weapons fire. The first blast shook the entire station. Emergency lights started flashing red. People screamed as they fell to the floor. In seconds, Serenity Base went from a quiet research facility to a disaster zone. "Shields are failing," shouted technical specialist Minho. "These weapons are military grade, much stronger than anything we have." Ji-hoon's mind raced. Serenity Base had basic shields designed to stop space debris and solar radiation. They had never been meant to stop military weapons. The station's designers had never imagined they would need to defend against an attack. "Begin evacuation procedures," Ji-hoon commanded. "Get everyone to the escape pods. Priority to civilians and research staff." Dr. Yoon-ji ran into the control center, carrying a data pad filled with her research. "Commander, my work on interspecies. Cooperation is too important to lose. These files could help prevent conflicts across the galaxy. Then we'll make sure you get out safely," Ji-hoon promised. He had always respected Yoon-ji's dedication to peace. Her research had already helped several species resolve their differences without fighting. The attacking ships came closer. Through the station's cameras, they could see alien beings in heavy armor moving through the corridors. They were unlike any species humans had encountered before. Their bodies seemed to be made partly of silicon and metal. They moved with mechanical precision, destroying everything in their path. "Who are they?" Dr. Yoon-ji asked, watching the alien invaders on the screen. "Unknown species," Ji-hoon replied grimly. "But they're not here to talk." The aliens, who would later be identified as the Zephyrian Collective, moved through Serenity Base like a deadly machine. They showed no interest in capturing the station or stealing research. They seemed focused only on destruction and killing. Every human they found was shot down without mercy. Ji-hoon organized the evacuation as best he could. Security officers, like Sergeant Woo-bin and Corporal Na-rae, tried to slow down the attackers, but their training was mostly theoretical. Humans had not fought a real war in over 2 centuries. Their weapons were designed for protection against space pirates, not military forces. "Escape Pod 7 is ready," reported Communications Officer Yu Jin. 43 civilians aboard, including most of the research staff. "Launch it," Ji-hoon ordered. Through the window, he watched the small pod race away from the station toward the nearest human colony. At least some people would survive to tell what happened here. But the Zephyrian ships followed the escape pods. They hunted down each one with cold efficiency, destroying them with precise weapons fire. The aliens were not just attacking the station. They were making sure no humans survived. "They're killing everyone," whispered Minho in horror. "Even the civilians trying to escape." This was beyond anything humans could understand. In their experience, even the most aggressive species followed certain rules during conflicts. Civilians were usually protected. Surrender was accepted. There were limits to violence. But these aliens followed no such rules. Dr. Yoon-ji worked frantically to transmit her research data to other human facilities. "If we're going to die, at least our work can survive," she said. Her fingers moved quickly over the computer controls, sending years of peaceful research across the galaxy. The last message from Serenity Base was recorded by Commander Ji-hoon as the aliens broke into the control center. His words would later be found in the wreckage by human investigators. "This is Commander Ji-hoon of Serenity Base. We are under attack by unknown aliens. They call themselves the Zephyrian Collective. They are showing no mercy to civilians or researchers. This was an unprovoked attack on a peaceful facility. We had no weapons capable of threatening anyone. We offered help and received death. If anyone receives this message, warn the colonies. These aliens are not interested in peace." The transmission ended when the alien weapons finally destroyed the communication system. 3 days later, the human diplomatic vessel Harmony arrived at Serenity Base to investigate the loss of contact. Captain Dong Wu had been expecting to find some minor technical problem or perhaps a natural disaster. Instead, he found a destroyed research station and the bodies of over 300 humans floating in space. The investigation team worked for hours, collecting evidence and recording the destruction. Every computer had been destroyed. Every research project had been erased. The aliens had not stolen anything. They had simply killed and destroyed everything they could find. "Captain," called out Investigator Heyman, "I'm finding weapons signatures unlike anything in our database. This was definitely an attack, not an accident." Captain Dongwu felt sick as he walked through the ruins of Serenity Base. He had known many of these people personally. Dr. Yunji had been a friend of his family. Commander Ji-hoon had served with honor for 15 years. These were good people who had dedicated their lives to making the galaxy better. The evidence was clear, but Captain Dongwu could barely believe it. Someone had attacked a peaceful human research station without warning or provocation. They had murdered hundreds of innocent people whose only crime was trying to learn about the universe. When Captain Dong-Wu reported the attack to the Galactic Council, the response was disappointing. Ambassador Tae-young presented all the evidence clearly, but the council members seemed uninterested in taking action. The research station was in disputed territory, claimed Councillor Vexathani from the Velkari Empire. Perhaps these humans were trespassing. Serenity Base had been operating legally for 5 years, Tae-young replied angrily. All proper permits were filed with the council. This was an unprovoked massacre, but the council voted to investigate further rather than take immediate action. Behind the scenes, diplomatic messages revealed the truth. The attack had been ordered by Overlord Krexthar of the Draknari Federation as a test of human resolve. The Zephyrian Collective had been promised territory and resources in exchange for carrying out the assault. When Ambassador Tae-young confronted the Draknari delegation with intercepted communications proving their involvement, they showed no shame. "Your species has grown soft," declared War Chief Volcanos. "You have forgotten the basic laws of the universe. The strong take what they want from the weak. If you cannot defend your territories, you do not deserve to keep them." "We want peace. With all species," Tae-young replied. "We have never threatened anyone." "Exactly," Volcanos laughed. "You are weak because you choose to be weak. Withdraw from the 3 outer star systems, and we will consider the matter settled. Refuse, and more of your precious research stations will suffer the same fate as Serenity Base." The message was clear. The aliens saw human kindness as weakness. They viewed human colonies as easy targets. The peaceful galaxy that humans had worked so hard to build was apparently an illusion. Some species still believed in taking what they wanted through violence. News of the Serenity Base massacre spread quickly through human space. For the first time in generations, humans faced a terrible choice. They could retreat from the outer systems and hope the attacks would stop, or they could fight back against enemies who had shown no mercy to innocent people. The galaxy had made a terrible mistake. They had pushed humanity toward a decision that would change everything. Admiral Kyung-soo sat in her office on Earth, staring at the reports from Serenity Base. The images of destroyed corridors and floating bodies made her feel sick. But underneath the sadness, something else was growing. Something that had been sleeping in human hearts for over 2 centuries was beginning to wake up. She activated her personal computer and began searching through files that had not been opened in generations. Military histories, weapon designs, tactical manuals from the old wars on Earth. The Human Defense Force had kept these records, but they had been treated like museum pieces. No one had expected to need them again. "Computer, display files on the Terran War of 2156, she commanded. The screen filled with information about humanity's last great conflict. Kyung-soo's great-grandfather had fought in that war. She had grown up hearing stories about courage, sacrifice, and the terrible. efficiency of human warfare. But those stories had seemed like ancient mythology. Now, they felt like instruction manuals. Dr. Haiwan worked late in her genetics laboratory, studying blood samples from human volunteers. The government had quietly asked her to research whether humans still had the biological capacity for warfare. What she found surprised even her. "The genetic markers are all still there," she reported to her supervisor, Dr. Jin Wu. "2 centuries of peaceful living haven't changed our basic biology. Humans still have the same capacity for aggression, strategic thinking, and survival instincts that made us dominant on Earth. We just haven't needed to use these traits recently." "What about psychological adaptation?" Dr. Jin Wu asked. "Can peaceful humans become soldiers?" "The brain scans are fascinating," Dr. Haiwan replied, showing him her data. "When we show volunteers images of the Serenity Base attack, their brain activity changes dramatically. The areas associated with protective aggression and tactical planning become much more active. It's like their minds are automatically switching from peace mode to war mode." Across human space, ordinary people were having similar reactions. Young, Captain Wu Jin had been commanding a peaceful cargo vessel when he received word about Serenity Base. His childhood friend Narration had been among the researchers killed in the attack. The news hit him like a physical blow. Wu Jin had known Narration since they were children. She had been kind, intelligent, and dedicated to helping others. Her research on alien psychology had been aimed at preventing conflicts between species. The idea that someone had murdered her for no reason except to send a message filled Wu Jin with an emotion he had never experienced before: rage. Pure, cold, calculating rage. For the first time in his life, Wu Jin began thinking about violence. Not the casual violence of movies or games, but real, purposeful military violence. He found himself studying the reports from Serenity Base, analyzing how the attack had been carried out, thinking about how it could have been prevented or countered. He was not alone. Across human colonies, people were having similar thoughts. Engineer Seung Ho began calculating how his construction equipment could be modified into weapons. Teacher Yu Jin started researching military history to help her students understand what was happening. Farmer Jun Seo looked at his agricultural chemicals and wondered how they could be used for more aggressive purposes. The transformation was happening everywhere. Humans who had lived their entire lives without thinking about war were suddenly becoming very interested in the subject. The government tried to keep the situation calm, but they could not stop the change that was spreading through human society. General Chang Min had been one of the few humans who still studied military strategy as more than just a hobby. When the Defense Council called him to an emergency meeting, he already had plans prepared. "The aliens made a serious mistake," he told the assembled politicians and military officers. "They attacked us expecting surrender. Instead, they have awakened something they do not understand." "What do you mean?" asked Defense Minister Bo Kyung. "We are a peaceful people. We don't have the weapons or training for a war. We don't have the weapons yet," General Chang Min corrected. "But we have something much more valuable. We have human engineering genius, human determination, and human creativity. Most importantly, we have human anger." He activated a presentation showing production capacity across human space. "Our civilian industry can be converted to military production faster than any alien species has ever managed. Our scientists can develop new weapons technologies in months instead of years. Our people can be trained as soldiers because the instincts are still there in our genes." Dr. Bo Ram was already working on these conversions. Her team had spent only 2 weeks analyzing captured Zephyrian weapons before they developed countermeasures. The aliens' technology was advanced, but it was also old and predictable. They had been using the same basic weapon designs for centuries because they worked against other aliens. They had never faced human ingenuity. "The terraforming equipment can be modified," Dr. Boram explained to a group of military planners. "The same machines we use to reshape planets can be turned into siege weapons. The medical nanites we developed for healing can be programmed to target specific alien biologies. The mining charges we use for construction can become military explosives. Colonel Mi Young had been secretly training volunteers in asteroid mining, facilities far from alien observation. The official story was that they were preparing for dangerous mining operations. The truth was that they were learning to fight in space, using mining equipment as weapons and asteroid tunnels as training grounds. "The aliens are watching our major colonies and military bases," she reported. "But they are not paying attention to the mining operations in the outer system. We can train thousands of soldiers out there without anyone noticing." Intelligence Officer Jae Sung had developed a clever plan to fool enemy spies. He allowed alien observers to watch human military exercises, but only the ones using old, ineffective tactics. While aliens reported that humans were helplessly unprepared for war, the real military training was happening in secret locations. "Let them think we are weak and confused," Jae Sung advised his superiors. "When we finally reveal our true capabilities, the shock will give us a tremendous advantage." Admiral In-ho coordinated with Commander Bitna to begin the largest industrial conversion in human history. Civilian factories that had been producing consumer goods and scientific equipment began making military hardware. The aliens knew this was happening, but they underestimated the scale and speed of human production. "Human manufacturing is incredibly efficient," In-ho reported to the Defense Council. "We can produce more military equipment in 6 months than most alien civilizations can manage in 5 years. The Zephyrians and their allies are expecting a small defensive force. We are preparing an offensive war machine." The psychological transformation was just as important as the physical preparations. Humans who had lived their entire lives avoiding conflict were learning to think like warriors. They studied the alien attack on Serenity Base not just to mourn the dead, but to understand enemy tactics and develop countermeasures. Minister Ji Young conducted surveys across human space and found that public opinion had changed completely. Before Serenity Base, most humans wanted to avoid conflict at any cost. After the massacre, the vast majority supported military action against the aliens who had attacked them. "The people are angry," she reported. "But it's not emotional anger. It's cold, calculating anger. They want justice, but they also want to make sure this never happens again. They understand that showing weakness only invites more attacks." Perhaps most importantly, humans were beginning to think differently about their place in the galaxy. For generations, they had seen themselves as junior members of the galactic community, grateful to be accepted by older and more powerful species. The attack on Serenity Base had changed that perspective. "We don't need to prove ourselves to aliens," declared Senator Hyun Jin during a closed session of the Colonial Assembly. "We need to prove to them that attacking humans is the worst mistake they can make." The aliens had expected their attack to make humans retreat from the outer systems. Instead, it had triggered the awakening of humanity's warrior nature. Across human space, peaceful explorers were becoming soldiers, and scientists were becoming weapons designers. The galaxy had made a fundamental error in judgment. They had mistaken human kindness for weakness, and human peace for helplessness. They were about to learn the difference between a species that cannot fight and a species that chooses not to fight. The sleeping giant was awake, and it was very, very angry. General Chang Min stood before the largest military planning table that had been used in human space for 3 centuries. The holographic display showed every human colony, every trade route, and every known alien military position. For the first time since the ancient Earth Wars, humanity was planning for total warfare. 6 months, he announced to his staff officers. "The politicians want results in 6 months. Can we build a real military force in that time?" Colonel Mi Young nodded confidently. "The soldiers are ready, General. We've been training in the asteroid fields for weeks now. The recruits are learning faster than anyone expected. It's like they have natural instincts for warfare that just needed to be awakened." "And equipment?" Chang Min asked. Dr. Boram smiled grimly. Production is ahead of schedule. We've converted 60% of our civilian manufacturing to military use. The aliens think we're just making basic defensive equipment. They have no idea what we're actually building. Across the galaxy, the alien coalition was indeed underestimating human preparations. War Chief Volcanos of the Draknari Federation received regular intelligence reports about human activities, but his analysts consistently downplayed the threat. The humans are panicking, reported Intelligence Commander Zixnoth. They're trying to build weapons, but their efforts are disorganized and desperate. Their military exercises show poor coordination and outdated tactics. They have converted some factories to weapons production, but the scale is limited. War Chief Volcanos studied the reports with satisfaction. Exactly what we expected. Peaceful species always react this way when threatened. They make noise and wave weapons around, but they lack the warrior spirit necessary for real combat. How long before they accept our demands? Perhaps 3 months, Zixnoth estimated. Their economy cannot sustain military production for very long. They will realize they cannot win and negotiate for peace. This analysis was exactly what Human Intelligence Officer Jae Sung wanted the aliens to believe. His carefully orchestrated deception was working perfectly. While alien spies watched fake military exercises and observed limited weapons production at obvious facilities, the real human war machine was growing in secret. They're watching the military bases near Earth and the major colonies, Jae Sung reported to General Chang Min. They completely ignore the mining operations and research stations in the outer systems. We can hide entire armies out there. Admiral In-ho had converted 3 asteroid mining facilities into massive weapons factories. The aliens saw routine mining ships coming and going, but they had no idea that these ships were carrying military equipment instead of minerals. Human engineers had become masters of deception. The beauty of our plan, In-ho explained to his senior staff, is that we're using our reputation for honesty against them. Aliens trust that human mining operations are actually mining operations. They would never suspect us of such elaborate deception. Commander Bitna supervised the construction of humanity's first true warships in centuries. The designs looked like civilian vessels from the outside, but they carried revolutionary weapons systems that no alien species had ever encountered. Stealth technology, adaptive armor, and quantum torpedoes, she listed for the engineering teams. Each ship will be able to fight 5 alien vessels simultaneously. More importantly, they'll be able to escape and fight again if necessary. The human approach to warfare was fundamentally different from alien military thinking. Most galactic species fought for territory or resources, with clear objectives and limited goals. Humans were preparing for something much more comprehensive. Dr. Boram had made discoveries that excited and terrified her engineering teams. Human creativity in weapon design is incredible, she reported to the military leadership. We're not just copying alien technology. We're inventing completely new approaches to warfare. Her teams had weaponized terraforming equipment in ways that no one had imagined possible. Atmospheric processors became chemical weapon factories. Weather control systems became strategic weapons capable of devastating entire planets. Mining charges became guided explosives that could penetrate any known armor. The aliens have been using the same basic weapon technologies for thousands of years, Dr. Boram explained. They improve efficiency and power, but the fundamental concepts never change. Human weapons will be completely outside their experience. Captain Sunmi led a special project developing tactics that had never been used in galactic warfare. Her team studied ancient human military history and adapted old Earth strategies for space combat. Kamikaze attacks, psychological warfare, and acceptable loss ratios, she explained to her officers. Aliens fight to minimize casualties and preserve resources. Humans fight to win, regardless of cost. This gives us enormous tactical advantages. Major D. Yanwu trained ground forces using combined arms tactics that alien species had never developed. Most galactic warfare was fought by single-species units using traditional formations. Human forces would coordinate infantry, armor, air support, and artillery in ways that would confuse and overwhelm enemy commanders. The key is speed and flexibility, Yan Wu taught his soldiers. We hit them fast, from multiple directions, with different types of weapons. Before they can adapt to one threat, we've already switched to another approach. Admiral Jin Ia worked on the naval strategies that would be tested in the first major battles. Her plans called for human fleets to abandon traditional formation, fighting in favor of more aggressive tactics. We'll use feints, ambushes, and sacrificial attacks, she explained to her captains. Alien commanders expect honorable combat with clear rules. We'll give them chaos and confusion instead. The psychological preparation was just as important as the technical development. Humans were learning to think like a warrior species again. The change was remarkable and disturbing to observe. Captain Ho Jung had been a peaceful cargo ship commander before Serenity Base. Now she studied alien military weaknesses with the intensity of a natural predator. They rely too much on shields and armor, she noted during tactical planning. They expect frontal attacks using energy weapons. We'll use kinetic weapons, multiple attack vectors, and targeting their weak points. Colonel Tae Young specialized in special operations that would have horrified humans just months earlier. His teams practiced infiltration, sabotage, and elimination, missions that left no survivors to report back to enemy commanders. The aliens think they know what humans are capable of, Tae Young said during training exercises. They're about to learn how wrong they are. Meanwhile, the alien coalition continued to misread human intentions. Overlord Krexthar of the Draknari Federation held a strategy meeting with his allied commanders, confident that the human problem would soon be resolved. The Zephyrian attack was perfectly executed, he declared. The humans are scared and preparing desperate defenses. Within a few months, they will realize they cannot win and will accept our territorial demands. What if they don't surrender? Asked General Vorthak of the Velkari Empire. Then we destroy a few more research stations until they see reason, Krexthar replied casually. Humans are fundamentally weak. They value individual lives too much to sustain a real war. A few thousand casualties will break their will to fight. This was perhaps the most dangerous misunderstanding of all. The aliens believed that human concern for individual lives was a weakness that could be exploited. They had no concept of how human protective instincts could be transformed into devastating offensive capabilities. Supreme Commander Kyung Ho finalized the human war plans in absolute secrecy. Only a handful of people knew the true scope of what humanity was preparing. The aliens expected a defensive war with limited objectives. They were going to face total warfare on a scale the galaxy had never seen. Operation Steel Rain will begin. In 2 months, Kyung Ho announced to his inner circle, we'll hit 12 star systems simultaneously, targeting military installations, supply lines, and command centers. The enemy will think they're facing multiple human fleets when it's actually a coordinated campaign. Admiral Su Jin received the fleet assignments for the opening offensive. The numbers were staggering, even to humans who had been working on the preparations. 200 ships in the first wave, she confirmed. Another 300 in reserve, ready to exploit any breakthrough. The aliens think we have maybe 50 combat-capable vessels total. Field Marshal Wan Ho completed the intelligence assessment that would guide human strategy. His teams had identified every weakness in alien military doctrine, every gap in their defenses, every assumption they made about how warfare should be conducted. They're not prepared for what we're going to do, he reported. Their entire military philosophy is based on honor, tradition, and limited warfare. We're going to hit them with total war, unlimited escalation, and complete disregard for their rules of engagement. As the final preparations were completed, both sides looked toward the coming conflict with very different expectations. The aliens anticipated a short, limited war that would end with human surrender and territorial concessions. They saw the human response to Serenity Base as the desperate thrashing of a weak species trying to avoid inevitable defeat. Fleet Admiral Do Hyun stood on the bridge of the battleship Retribution, watching the final countdown to humanity's first military offensive in over 2 centuries. Around him, officers worked with quiet efficiency, their faces showing the cold determination that had replaced the gentle kindness that aliens expected from humans. "All fleets report ready," announced Communications Officer C1. "Operation Steel Rain is go." The attack began simultaneously across 12 star systems. It was unlike anything the galaxy had ever witnessed. Human fleets appeared without warning, striking at military targets with precision and overwhelming force. The aliens had expected desperate defensive actions. Instead, they faced coordinated offensive warfare on a massive scale. In the Zephyrian home system, Captain Sunmi led the first wave of attacks against their orbital defense platforms. Her ship, the Vengeance, had been designed to look like a peaceful exploration vessel. The Zephyrians realized their mistake only when it was too late. "All weapons, fire," Sunmi commanded. The Vengeance revealed its true nature as hidden weapon ports opened and unleashed devastating firepower. The Zephyrian platforms, designed to resist traditional alien energy weapons, crumpled under kinetic bombardment and quantum torpedoes that completely bypassed their shields. "Enemy platform destroyed," reported Weapons Officer Jun Sik. "Moving to Target 2. But Captain Sunmi had a different plan. Her ship accelerated directly toward the largest Zephyrian dreadnought, launching all escape pods as it approached ramming speed. "Captain, what are you doing?" asked her first officer, Lieutenant Min Su. "Winning," Sunmi replied calmly. "Tell the fleet this is a tactical ramming attack, not a suicide mission. We calculated the structural weak points. This will work." The Vengeance slammed into the alien dreadnought at precisely the right angle and velocity. The collision destroyed both ships, but it also created a debris field that disabled 3 other Zephyrian vessels. More importantly, it demonstrated human willingness to sacrifice valuable ships to achieve tactical objectives. The alien commanders watched in horror as human captains made decisions that no galactic species would consider. The humans were treating their own ships and lives as expendable resources in pursuit of victory. This violated every principle of civilized warfare. Major Yeon Woo led ground forces in the first planetary assault against a Zephyrian colony world. His troops moved with a coordination and aggression that shocked the defending aliens. Human soldiers fought with combined arms tactics that were completely outside alien experience. "Artillery, suppress the enemy positions," Yeon Woo commanded through his communicator. "Infantry, advance under covering fire. Armor units, flank left and hit their supply depot." The Zephyrian defenders had never faced anything like this. Most galactic warfare consisted of formal battles between similar units using predictable tactics. The humans coordinated different types of forces in complex maneuvers that created chaos on the battlefield. Sergeant Dong-Su's squad demonstrated the new human approach to combat casualties. When Private Hae-jin was wounded by enemy fire, the medics treated her quickly and efficiently, then she returned to combat with basic pain management drugs. In human doctrine, wounded soldiers who can still fight continue fighting, explained combat medic Won Bin to a captured Zephyrian officer. "We don't retreat just because someone gets hurt. We retreat when the mission is complete or when continuing would serve no tactical purpose." This attitude terrified the aliens. Most species treated wounded soldiers as non-combatants who needed to be evacuated immediately. Humans treated wounded soldiers as partially effective units who could still contribute to the battle. The psychological impact was enormous. Admiral Jin A commanded the naval battle that broke the Zephyrian home fleet in just 4 hours. Her tactics were based on ancient Earth naval strategies adapted for space warfare. The aliens had never encountered anything like it. "All ships execute plan midway," she ordered. The human fleet scattered into small groups using hit-and-run attacks to confuse and divide the larger alien force. When the Zephyrians tried to concentrate their ships to face what they thought was the main human fleet, they discovered it was a decoy made up of drones and automated weapons platforms. "The real attack is coming from behind," reported Captain Young-Ho from the destroyer Lightning. "Enemy flagship is exposed. All ships converge on target." The Zephyrian command ship was destroyed by focused fire from 6 human vessels that had approached using stealth technology. Without central coordination, the alien fleet fell apart rapidly, but the most shocking aspect of the human attack was its scope and coordination. While the Zephyrians were fighting desperately in their home system, human forces were simultaneously attacking Draknari military bases, Velkari supply lines, and other alien installations across the galaxy. War Chief Volcanos of the Draknari Federation received reports from multiple fronts, all describing impossible human victories. His military advisors struggled to understand what was happening. "The humans have more ships than our intelligence estimated," reported Fleet Commander Krathvin. "They're using weapons we've never seen before. Their tactics are completely outside our experience." "How many human fleets are we facing?" Volcanos demanded. "Unknown, sir. They're hitting us in 12 different systems simultaneously. Each attack force appears to be commanded independently, but there's obvious coordination between them. It's like fighting 12 different human military organizations that somehow work together perfectly." This was exactly what Supreme Commander Kyung-Ho had planned. The human attacks were coordinated by quantum communication networks that allowed instant communication across galactic distances. Alien species had never developed this technology because they rarely needed such coordination. Captain Ho Jung became legendary among human forces during the Battle of Kepler Station. Her ship, the Fury, faced 5 Draknari cruisers simultaneously and destroyed all of them using tactics that would have been considered impossible by alien standards. "All power to forward shields," she commanded as enemy fire concentrated on her ship. "Launch all missiles, then ram the closest target." "Captain, that's suicide," protested her navigation officer. "No, it's tactics," Ho Jung corrected. "The missiles will distract them while we ram. The collision will disable 2 ships. Our escape pods will be picked up by the Lightning. Net result, we lose 1 ship, they lose 5 ships." The Fury's sacrifice worked exactly as planned. The human approach to acceptable losses was revolutionizing space warfare. While aliens tried to preserve every ship and crew member, humans calculated the most efficient exchange ratios and acted on them without hesitation. Colonel Tae-young led Special Operations Forces in missions that left no alien survivors to report back to their commanders. His teams infiltrated enemy installations, destroyed critical equipment, and eliminated key personnel with surgical precision. No prisoners, no witnesses, no evidence. He briefed his operators before each mission. "The aliens should know that something happened, but they should not know how we did it or how to prevent it from happening again." These operations created psychological terror among alien military personnel. Command officers began disappearing from supposedly secure facilities. Critical weapons systems failed at crucial moments. Enemy communications were intercepted and disrupted in ways that seemed impossible. The first day of human offensive operations ended with complete success across all 12 target systems. Alien losses were catastrophic, while human casualties were surprisingly light. The efficiency of human warfare shocked even the human commanders who had planned the operations. "Damage assessment," Admiral Do-hyun requested from his intelligence. "Staff. Enemy military capacity reduced by approximately 40%, reported Commander Ye-jun. All primary objectives achieved. Secondary objectives exceeded expectations. Human losses are less than projected. What about enemy morale? Collapsing rapidly. Intercepted communications show panic among alien commanders. They're requesting reinforcements from allies who are also under attack. Several alien governments are considering withdrawal from the coalition." The psychological impact of the human attacks was even more important than the physical damage. For thousands of years, galactic warfare had followed predictable patterns. Species fought limited wars for specific objectives, then negotiated peace agreements when the costs became too high. Humans were fighting total war with unlimited objectives. They seemed prepared to escalate the conflict indefinitely until their enemies were completely defeated. This approach was unprecedented in galactic history. Overlord Krexthar of the Draknari Federation called an emergency meeting with his allied commanders. The reports from the first day of human attacks had shattered their confidence completely. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "Our intelligence said the humans had minimal military capability." "Our intelligence was wrong," admitted General Vorthak of the Velkari Empire. "The humans have been preparing for this war much longer than we realized. Their weapons, tactics, and strategies are completely different from anything we know how to fight. What do you recommend?" "Immediate ceasefire negotiations," Vorthak replied without hesitation. "We underestimated them completely. If we continue this war, they might destroy us entirely." General Sanghoon stood on the bridge of the command ship Inevitable, watching the systematic destruction of the Zephyrian industrial complex on Kepler Prime. This was the third alien world his forces had conquered in 2 weeks. Unlike Alien, conquerors, humans were not interested in capturing territory to rule. They were eliminating threats. "All manufacturing facilities destroyed," reported Colonel Nare. "Orbital platforms demolished, space elevators cut. The planet will not be able to support military production for at least 50 years. "Excellent," Sanghoon replied. "Implement Protocol Scorched Earth. Make sure they understand the cost of attacking human civilians." Protocol Scorched Earth was humanity's answer to the Serenity Base massacre. Any world that had supported attacks on human targets would be stripped of its ability to threaten anyone again. The policy was brutal, efficient, and completely outside alien understanding of warfare. Dr. Ye-Jin worked in the biological warfare laboratories that had been established on captured asteroid bases. Her team had developed weapons specifically designed to target alien biology while leaving human-friendly environments intact. The Zephyrian respiratory system is vulnerable to Silicon-7 compounds, she reported to the military command. "We can deploy atmospheric weapons that will force evacuation of any planet within hours. No permanent damage to the ecosystem, but the world becomes uninhabitable for their species." "What about other species?" asked General Sanghoon. "Completely safe for humans and most carbon-based life forms," Dr. Ye-Jin confirmed. "The weapon is specifically keyed to silicon-based biology. It's a perfect example of targeted biological warfare." This represented a complete revolution in military thinking. Previous galactic wars had been fought with generic weapons that affected all species equally. Human weapons were designed to target specific enemies while protecting everyone else. The tactical advantages were enormous. Commander Dae Jung led deep strike operations that penetrated hundreds of light years into enemy territory. His fast attack fleets would appear without warning, destroy critical targets, and vanish before enemy forces could respond. "Hit the supply depot at Vega 7, he commanded during one such raid. "Destroy everything, take no prisoners, leave no evidence of our technology. I want them to know we were there, but not how we got there or where we went." These raids created constant terror among alien populations. No target seemed safe from human attack. Military bases, industrial facilities, and government centers were destroyed with surgical precision by forces that appeared and disappeared like ghosts. The aliens began to realize they were fighting an enemy that played by completely different rules. Admiral Siwu demonstrated this during the Battle of Rigel Station when he sacrificed an entire human fleet to achieve a strategic objective. "All ships, begin ramming runs," Siwu ordered as his fleet faced overwhelming enemy numbers. "Target, their command vessels. Maximum damage, minimum survival." The human ships accelerated directly toward the alien fleet, launching escape pods just before impact. 23 human vessels were destroyed in the attack, but they eliminated over 60 enemy ships, including the entire alien command structure. "This is madness," transmitted the surviving Draknari admiral. "You're destroying your own fleet." "We're winning," Siwoo replied from his escape pod as rescue ships picked up the human survivors. "Your fleet is gone. Ours can be replaced. Do the mathematics." This attitude horrified alien commanders who had never encountered such calculated brutality. Humans treated their own ships and lives as resources to be expended efficiently in pursuit of victory. The psychological impact was devastating. Captain Ho Jung earned her reputation as Iron Death during the siege of Proxima Base. Her ship engaged enemy forces for 6 straight days, returning to battle repeatedly despite accumulating damage that would have forced any alien vessel to retreat. "Hull breaches on decks 4 through 7, reported her damage control officer. "Life support failing in 3 sections. Weapon systems operating at 60% efficiency." "Continue the attack," Ho Jung ordered calmly. "Reroute power from non-essential systems. All crew to battle stations. We finish this today." The human ship looked like a floating wreck by the end of the battle, but it had destroyed an entire Velkari battle group. The aliens could not understand how humans could continue fighting with such severe damage to their vessels. Colonel Tae Young's special operations earned him the alien nickname, the Silent Death. His teams conducted raids that left enemy installations completely destroyed with no trace of how the attacks had been carried out. "Security footage shows nothing," reported a confused Draknari intelligence officer. "Motion sensors detected no intrusion, yet the entire ammunition depot exploded exactly when the human fleet needed it destroyed. Tae Young's operations were so effective that alien forces began abandoning positions rather than risk facing his teams. The mere possibility of human special forces in the area was enough to cause panic among enemy troops. But the most terrifying aspect of human warfare was their willingness to escalate conflicts indefinitely. When the Velkari Empire deployed their most advanced battleships, humans responded by developing even more destructive weapons. Admiral Gunwoo commanded the first deployment of humanity's quantum devastator weapons. These devices could destroy entire fleets by creating localized space-time distortions. The technology was so advanced that alien scientists could not even understand how it worked. "Target the Velkari Super Dreadnought Dominion," Gunwoo ordered during the Battle of Wolf 359. "Quantum Devastator, full power." The alien ship simply vanished, along with a sphere of space-time roughly 1 kilometer in diameter. The weapon left. No debris, no energy signature, no trace that the massive vessel had ever existed. "What did you do?" demanded the surviving Velkari admiral over the communication channel. "We ended this battle," Gunwoo replied. "Surrender now, or we'll demonstrate the weapon on your remaining ships." The Velkari fleet surrendered immediately. Word of the quantum devastator spread throughout alien space, causing panic among military leaders who realized they had no defense against such weapons. Field Marshal Wan Ho supervised the complete destruction of the Zephyrian Collective's industrial capacity. His forces moved systematically through their territory, eliminating every facility capable of supporting military operations. "The key is thoroughness," he explained to his subordinate commanders. "We're not just winning battles, we're eliminating their ability to fight future wars. When we're finished, the Zephyrians will need decades to rebuild their civilization." This strategic approach was completely outside alien experience. Most galactic wars ended with territorial concessions or tribute payments. Humans were fighting to eliminate their enemies as threats permanently. General Yu Jung demonstrated human determination during the siege of Altair Colony. Her forces fought for 3 months against overwhelming odds, refusing to retreat even when offered safe passage by enemy commanders. "The aliens don't understand us," she explained to her officers. "They think we'll negotiate when the situation becomes difficult. They're wrong. We fight until we win or until we die. There are no other options. The siege ended when human reinforcements arrived and completely destroyed the alien besieging force. General Yuzhong's willingness to fight to the death had delayed the enemy long enough for the tide of battle to turn decisively. Admiral Sung Min coordinated the naval campaigns that broke the back of organized alien resistance. His fleets moved with mechanical efficiency, destroying enemy forces faster than they could be replaced. Enemy production capacity is down to 15% of pre-war levels, he reported to Supreme Command. Their military leadership is either dead or in hiding. Several alien governments are requesting surrender negotiations. But the most significant development was the psychological collapse of the alien coalition. Species that had started the war with confidence and aggression were now desperately seeking ways to escape the conflict they had initiated. The humans are not fighting a normal war, reported Draknari Intelligence Chief Vex Moth to War Chief Volcanos. They're conducting what appears to be a campaign of species extermination. They show no interest in territorial gains or tribute payments. They seem determined to eliminate us as military threats permanently. What do they want? Volcanos asked desperately. Unknown. They refuse all communication attempts. Our surrender offers are ignored. They respond to diplomatic initiatives with increased military attacks. It's as if they've decided that peaceful coexistence is impossible. This assessment was partially correct. Human leadership had indeed concluded that alien species could not be trusted to honor peace agreements. The attack on Serenity Base had demonstrated that some aliens viewed human kindness as weakness to be exploited. Supreme Commander Kyung-ho made the decision that would define the rest of the war. We continue offensive operations until enemy military capacity is completely eliminated, he announced to his staff. No negotiations, no truces, no territorial compromises. We end this threat permanently. The galaxy watched in growing horror as human forces advanced on multiple fronts. With unstoppable momentum, worlds that had never known war were experiencing the full fury of human military capabilities. Supreme Commander Kyung-ho stood in the war room deep beneath Earth's surface, surrounded by holographic displays showing human military operations across the entire galaxy. Red indicators marked burning alien worlds. Blue arrows showed advancing human fleets. The map told a story of systematic destruction that would have been unimaginable just 1 year ago. Status report, he commanded. Admiral Su Jin activated the strategic overview. 12 simultaneous campaigns proceeding on schedule. Zephyrian space is 90% under our control. Draknari resistance has collapsed in 7 star systems. The Velkari Empire is requesting emergency peace negotiations. Denied, Kyung-ho replied without hesitation. Continue all operations. The human war machine had evolved into something that terrified even its creators. What had begun as a defensive response to alien aggression had become a campaign of total warfare that threatened to reshape the galaxy permanently. Field Marshal Wan Ho supervised Operation Cleansing Fire, the systematic destruction of the Zephyrian Collective's entire civilization. His forces moved from world to world, eliminating every trace of military capacity and most industrial infrastructure. Zephyr Prime has been neutralized, reported General Kim Soo from the planet's surface. Industrial capacity destroyed, military installations eliminated, government centers reduced to rubble. The surviving population has been relocated to agricultural reservations. Excellent, Wan Ho replied. Move to the next target. I want the entire Zephyrian territory cleared within 6 weeks. The human approach to conquest was unlike anything the galaxy had ever witnessed. While alien species typically fought for territory they could rule, humans fought to eliminate threats they could never trust. Conquered worlds were stripped of all military and industrial capacity, then left to survive as primitive agricultural societies. Admiral Gunwoo commanded the fleets implementing humanity's doctrine of total war. His ships appeared in alien space, like harbingers of doom, delivering ultimatums that no species could refuse. This is Admiral Gunwoo of the Human Defense Force. he broadcast to the terrified population of Rigel 4. You have 24 hours to evacuate all military personnel and industrial workers. Anyone remaining after that deadline will be considered a combatant and treated accordingly. The planet evacuated completely. 2 days later, human forces destroyed every military base, weapons factory, and technological facility on the world. The cities remained intact, but Rigel 4 would never again pose a threat to anyone. Dr. Hyo Jin worked in the research facilities that were developing increasingly devastating weapons. Her teams had moved far beyond conventional military technology into areas that challenged the fundamental laws of physics. The Nova Catalyst is ready for deployment, she reported to the military command. We can trigger stellar instability in any star system within our operational range. The target star will go supernova within 72 hours of deployment. What about inhabited systems? Asked General Sang-hoon. We provide 72 hours warning for evacuation, Dr. Hyo Jin replied. Anyone who chooses to remain will be eliminated along with any military installations in the system. It's the ultimate scorched earth weapon. The Nova Catalyst represented the pinnacle of human military innovation. No alien species had ever developed weapons capable of destroying entire star systems. The psychological impact was beyond measurement. General Yu Jung led the ground forces that were systematically conquering alien homeworlds. Her troops had evolved from peaceful colonists into professional soldiers capable of defeating any military force in the galaxy. The key to our success is determination, she explained to a group of newly captured alien officers. Your species fight until the cost becomes too high, then you negotiate. Humans fight until we win, regardless of cost. This gives us an insurmountable psychological advantage. The captured aliens stared at her in horror. They had begun to understand that humans viewed warfare as an existential struggle that could only end with the complete defeat of their enemies. Colonel Tae-young's special operations had become legendary throughout alien space. His teams could infiltrate any facility, eliminate any target, and escape without leaving evidence of their presence. Operation Ghost Wind is complete, he reported from deep inside Draknari territory. All military leadership above the rank of colonel has been eliminated. Command structure has completely collapsed. Remaining forces are surrendering or deserting. The systematic elimination of enemy leadership was one of humanity's most effective tactics. Alien military organizations depended on complex hierarchies that could not function without their senior officers. Captain Young-soo led the next generation of human naval officers who had never known peace. His ship, the Retribution II, was designed from the beginning as a weapon of war rather than a converted civilian vessel. Target the Velkari battle station, he ordered during the assault on their capital system. All weapons, maximum firepower. No warnings, no mercy, no survivors. The battle station died in a burst of nuclear fire. Young-soo's generation fought with a cold efficiency that frightened older human officers who remembered the peaceful years. These young warriors knew only war, and they excelled at it. Lieutenant Yoon-ho served under Captain Young-soo and represented the transformation of human society. She had been studying alien cultures and languages to promote peaceful understanding when the war began. Now she used that knowledge to develop psychological warfare techniques that broke enemy morale. The Draknari fear dishonor more than death, she explained during tactical planning. If we can make their military actions appear cowardly to their own people, they will surrender rather than face social disgrace. Human psychological operations were devastatingly effective because they were based on genuine understanding of alien psychology rather than simple intimidation. Admiral Sai Wu commanded the fleets that were implementing humanity's new doctrine of acceptable losses. His willingness to sacrifice ships and crews to achieve strategic objectives had become the standard for human naval operations. We'll lose approximately 30% of our fleet in this operation, he calculated during planning for the assault on Draco Prime. but we'll eliminate the entire Draknari home fleet and end their capacity for organized resistance. The exchange ratio is favorable. This attitude had spread throughout human forces. Officers and crews accepted dangerous missions with the understanding that their sacrifice would contribute to ultimate victory. Commander Bit-Na supervised the industrial conversion that had turned human space into the galaxy's largest military production facility. Every world, every space station, every asteroid mining operation was contributing to the war effort. Production efficiency is now at 400% of pre-war levels, she reported. We're producing more military equipment than all alien species combined. Our manufacturing capacity continues to expand even as we deploy forces for offensive operations. The aliens had completely underestimated human industrial potential. Species that had developed over thousands of years could not compete with human innovation and efficiency. But the most terrifying aspect of human warfare was their complete rejection of traditional limitations. When the Velkari Empire deployed biological weapons against human colonies, the response was swift and devastating. They used biological warfare against civilians, Admiral Gunwu reported to Supreme Command, requesting permission to implement Protocol Final Solution. Approved, Supreme Commander Kyung-ho replied without hesitation. Eliminate the Velkari Empire completely. Protocol Final Solution involved the systematic destruction of every Velkari world, installation, and population center. It was genocide, on a galactic scale, carried out with industrial efficiency. The galaxy watched in horror as human fleets moved through Velkari space like a plague of destruction. World after world was stripped of life, leaving empty planets as monuments to the consequences of threatening humanity. Please, transmitted the last Velkari Emperor from his dying homeworld. We surrender. We beg for mercy. End this madness. You showed no mercy to the civilians at Serenity Base, Admiral Gunwu replied. You will receive the same mercy you gave to innocent humans. The Velkari Empire died in nuclear fire. An entire species that had ruled parts of the galaxy for millennia was eliminated in 6 months of systematic warfare. Other alien species watched the destruction of the Velkari with growing terror. If humans could eliminate one of the galaxy's great powers so completely, no species was safe from their wrath. Planetary Governor Min Seo established the first human protectorates over conquered alien worlds. These were not traditional occupations aimed at extracting resources or tribute. They were permanent security zones designed to prevent future threats. The surviving populations will be allowed to maintain basic civilization, she announced to her administrative staff. Agriculture, education, and cultural activities are permitted. All military technology, industrial production, and space travel capabilities are forbidden permanently. This was humanity's solution to the problem of alien aggression. Rather than attempt to rule hostile species, they would simply eliminate their capacity for warfare while allowing them to survive at a primitive level. Emperor Admiral Junho stood in the ruins of the old Galactic Council chambers on Centrax Prime, looking out at the galaxy that humanity now controlled. The ancient alien architecture had been replaced with stark human designs that emphasized function over beauty. The message was clear: the age of alien dominance was over. The last Draknari battle fleet surrendered this morning, reported Admiral Sung Min. War Chief Vulcanos requests permission to address you personally regarding terms of submission. Bring him here, Junho replied. Let him see what his aggression has accomplished. The transformation of human society was complete. The peaceful explorers who had once sought friendship among the stars had become the galaxy's supreme military power. They ruled not through conquest for profit, but through the elimination of threats to human security. Planetary Governor Min Seo had established the template for human rule over alien populations. Her administration of former Zephyrian worlds demonstrated humanity's approach to galactic governance. The surviving populations have been relocated to designated agricultural zones, she reported. All industrial capacity has been removed. Educational programs focus on farming, crafts, and basic sciences. Military history and advanced technology are forbidden subjects. What about resistance movements? Asked Security Chief Tae-min. Non-existent, Minseo replied.